sound kind of robotic, kind of like the same. So I want to make sure I'm not doing that. And then I'm not on my computer right now. Right now I'm driving back from the gym. So when I get on my computer, I can send in my new 1 minute video, see if that's all good to go.
Sweet. Yeah, if you've got a couple role plays where you feel like you might be sounding robotic, we can also review that. But yeah, when you get home, drop that in. Other than that,
Sounds good.
What other questions do we have? What else do we want to go over?
I was hoping to get my 1 minute intro video review too.
Yeah, go ahead, drop it in the chat.
Okay.
While she's
Hello,
dropping that,
everyone.
anything else? Anything else we want to go over?
I was wondering if we can go through like different like tonalities on what sort of tonalities to use in, say, discovery, how to be curious, concerned,
Yeah, absolutely.
concise, and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that for sure. Let's take a look at Marie's intro video and then we'll jump into that topic. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, let me just share screen. When you guys can see that. Can y'all see that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, let's play it.
Hello, my name is Marie, and I'm here to tell you why I would be a great addition to your sales team. My main experience comes from my last closing role, where I closed my first deal within 3 days of starting, showing my ability to ramp up efficiently and execute. I took over 100 calls on that offer, so I've been able to refine the end-to-end sales call process. If I can be frank, I'm very results driven and I'm here to make some serious money. I know my work ethic, commitment, and standards are going to make sure I succeed in this space. I've made an intentional move into sales and I take it very seriously. Now, all I need is the offer. If that's the energy you need on your team, then let's connect.
The first thing that stood out to me was you mentioned taking 100 calls on the last offer you were on. Why mention that?
Just to show that I've got the reps in.
What were the results with 100 calls?
As in like the closing rate?
Close rate, yeah, close rate, cash collected, that kind of stuff.
I think so. The first month was good. I think I did like a 19,000 in my first 17 days, $19,000. The close rate wasn't that good. I think it was 15%, which obviously isn't like the best closing rate. And then kind of dropped off the second month, which is why I'm not on the offer anymore.
In that case, I would explain the offer in a different way, simply because the only thing that was going just in my head listening to it, I'm like, okay, she mentioned that she took 100 calls, but she's not mentioning any of the stats. Why if they were good, why wouldn't you say it? And if they're not good, then why put my mind there? You know what I mean? Because all you're making me think about by saying that is, okay, well, what happened with those 100 calls? That's the only thing I'm thinking about now. So I would still use that experience. You could still say, hey, close the first deal on a new offer in the first 3 days. But then just talk about what kind of offer it was. You can say average deal size was this. You can say this is what we sold. But I wouldn't get into a lot of the specifics on the intro video. I would save that for the interview if they were curious enough to ask and go into it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Other than that, I would say it's a good video. It did come across a little bit like too performative, too scripted. I want to see a little bit more natural flow, as if how you and I are talking right now. But other than that, I think everything you said outside of that piece there about the 100 calls was good.
Yeah, I was trying not to be too bland. I was trying to bring some energy, but okay, that's That's good feedback. I also didn't know there was going to be a transcript on that, so I should fix that because I didn't look at what it said.
Yeah, this I think it's just like an AI automatic
Right. It
transcripted
was a
thing.
little bit wrong, so which
Oh,
is
it was
okay.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most people understand. Like most people know that those transcripts aren't perfect. It's just kind of like YouTube captions and stuff. Like they get stuff wrong, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would just work on the flow of speech, right?
Mhm.
Don't try to be too perfect. You want to just be natural, as if you're talking to a friend, or as if you're just like presenting something you're really sure or excited about. But don't try to be like overly, I don't know, elegant or perfect in your speech, in your mannerisms. Just talk like how you'd communicate. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Um, I know that it was, is he still on the call? Malik, you wanted to talk about tonality. Talk to me a little bit about that. What were you looking to learn about?
Yeah, so just a different type of tonalities, when to be concerned, when to be curious, when to be concise, when to be confused, sort of thing. Like what part of the pitch, what part of the whole sales process. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll ask you, what do you think if you were to break it
So
up?
yeah, so for what I've been doing in the discovery phase, I try to sound curious when I'm asking the questions. When I'm trying to find the pain point and I'm trying to amplify the pain, I try to sound curious. So say they say, okay, we joined the call to get more leads. Okay, then I'll try and sound curious, use my facial expression and sound curious at that time.
Mhm.
And when I'm pitching, I try to speak with more certainty and try to be more concise. And in the so when I'm talking about the desires and where they essentially want to be, the amount of revenue they want to do, I try to be more enthusiastic when I'm future pacing. So
Mhm.
that's what I've been doing so far, but I don't think I'm very good at doing that
And
yet.
why don't you think you're very good?
Because I'm still learning when and where to be or what tonality. I just want to get your point of view, so
Mhm.
so I know. Okay, so when to be curious, when to be confused, when to be concise. That's how I do it right now.
And if I were to ask, and this is for everyone, not just you, Malik, if I were to ask, how do you be curious or speak with certainty? Like, how do you actually do that on a call? Like, it's one thing to know
So
when to, but how do you actually do it?
I guess facial expression and yeah, facial expression.
Engaged with the client and what they're talking about, right?
Body language as well. It plays a huge part in that.
Hmm. What else?
Tonality.
Yes. Even probing more, like asking more questions.
Hmm. Hmm. So all of you are correct. And Malik, when you're talking about being curious in discovery, speaking with certainty when you're pitching, that's also like that's correct. You want to be curious in discovery. You don't want to, I guess, give across a tone that you're sure about exactly what steps they should take before you've even discovered and learned about them. But where a lot of sales reps go wrong, or not even go wrong, I would say struggle with this, is how they actually execute it. So what everyone was saying, Malik, you're saying your facial expressions. Someone else said body language. I think it was Dia. Um, all of these things you do want to do, but how you go about it is going to determine whether it's believable or natural or smooth or actually works and it isn't like awkward or falls flat, right? If I'm on a call and my thought process is, okay, right now I need to be curious. Therefore, let me force certain facial expressions or force certain body language. That's how it comes across robotic and it's going to come across of what it is forced, right? And it's not going to be natural. On these calls, you want all of those things, facial expressions, body language, probing, everything you guys listed, you want that to be second nature. You want that to naturally occur. And the best way to do that without having to think about all of those different aspects is to control your thoughts and how you think about the situation or the actual part of the call you're in. So there's kind of, well, there's multiple ways to think about it, but what I see a lot of sales reps going wrong is in the fact that they're thinking about being curious or thinking about having a specific type of body language or thinking about speaking with certainty or thinking about the things we listed rather than thinking about the things that allow those things to happen naturally. For example, if someone is telling you about their problems or their pain or even their goals in discovery, what will allow everything else to come across as curious is if you think curious thoughts, not if you think about how to come across as curious. Am I making sense so far? So what you want to do is, for example, this is how it would go in my mind. So someone says, "Oh, I'm struggling with this." My thoughts that I'm almost forcing or in my head, but that I'm thinking is, what do they mean by that? And I'm asking myself a bunch of questions about what they just said to drum up curiosity. And then I'm picking which question I want to ask them next. But in the thought process of thinking curious thoughts about the person or about the thing they just said, the tonality, the body language, the facial expressions, all of those things just happen as a byproduct of that, but they're not the focus. Does that make sense so far? Everyone follow me, or are we confused? Yes, no, maybe. All right.
That
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that, because again, nothing any of you said was wrong, but I want to make sure that that's not the focus. Because if you make it the focus, that's where everything just comes across as wooden, right? So when I'm talking to someone and they're like, "This is my goal," my thought's like, "Why is that the goal? How long has that been the goal?" I'm really curious about that. And then I ask, "Hey, why is that the goal?" The facial expression, the body language, all of that stuff just comes. I'm not thinking they're thinking, "Okay, they just told me a goal. Okay, my face needs to be curious. I need to sound curious. How do I inflect my voice to make sure this next question comes out curious?" Like all those thoughts are just going to make you robotic. The thoughts need to be the thing that creates the rest of those things. Because at the end of the day, your thoughts control your feelings, would control your motivations, would control your actions. Right. So if you control your thoughts, you'll control your actions rather than trying to control your actions directly. It's the same thing like when you're trying to handle concerns or objections at the end of the call. I'm sure the energy you want to come across in most cases, you want to be calm, you want to be confident, you want to, in a lot of cases, show that you care about really helping the prospect overcome maybe fear or navigate an issue. But I'm not going to sit there being like, okay, what can I say to help them? Like, how can I come across as like I care about this person? How can I come across like I want to help them? What do I say that sounds how do I say this in a calming way? I'm not going to be thinking those thoughts. All I'm going to be thinking is, again, this is why you have to make sure you're selling a great service. But all I'm going to be thinking is, I really believe we can help this person, and I wonder what I can do to help them overcome this fear, because I'm super confident in them doing this. I really want to help them. I know they need this based on our conversation, and I'm really confident in what we have. And based on what they told me about themselves, I think if they do the work, they'll get great results. So let me try and help them overcome this. Like those are the type of thoughts that's going through your head. And as a byproduct of that, you sound like you care because you're thinking caring thoughts. You sound calm because you're thinking calming thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things, all of the tonality that you're looking to have comes from that. So yes, in discovery, we want to sound curious because we just want to discover the person, but I'm not going to think, how do I sound curious? I'm going to think, I want to know everything about this person. What are their goals? What are they struggling with? I just want to understand this person. How can I understand them more? What can I ask next to understand what they're trying to say? What are they saying but not really saying? What's the underlying meaning behind what the words that they're saying right now? How can I really get what they're going through? That's the actual thoughts in your head, but those thoughts create the tonality. You know what I mean? Does that answer your question, Malik?
Yeah, it does make sense.
So in discovery, yes, curiosity. In the pitch, that curiosity switches because, and the reason why, it's because you're curious because you have, like, there's two types of confidence. And if those of you here last week, you would have heard me say this, but there's two types of confidence that you have on a sales call. One is the confidence in your service, which is something that sustains no matter what, always. You should always be confident in what you're selling, or else you shouldn't be selling it. So that's the first type of confidence that's always there. The second type of confidence is the confidence for the person that you're speaking to actually do the thing that you're selling, right? So if I'm selling a fitness program, or if I'm selling a marketing agency, let's say I'm selling marketing agency service, I'm not coming into the call 100% confident that the business that's across from me on the call is the right business to partner with us so that they would see great results with our service, right? I'm not confident right away that the person I'm speaking to when I'm selling a fitness program is the type of person that's actually going to be committed enough, determined enough to go through the program and get great results with it. I'm confident in what we have, but I'm not yet confident in you doing it. That's where the curiosity and slight air of skepticism comes from in your tonality, right? I'm trying to sell myself on why you should do this. That's why I'm asking questions on, why is this important to you? What do you mean by that? Tell me more about that. How important is this goal, right? I'm asking you these questions because I want to be convinced that you are going to do the work, that you, or whatever it takes for your service to work. I'm trying to figure out if you've got it, because I already know if you fall into these puzzle pieces, you'll crush it with our company because I'm confident in what we sell. But I need to discover if you fit the puzzle piece. Does that make sense? Because there's, for every offer, people need to have certain things in place for them to be a good fit for the offer. It's not like, no matter, you can sell this offer to anyone and it'll work for everyone. Like, that's just not how it works, right? They need to fit. They need to be a good fit. Just because I'm selling a service to businesses, maybe that business needs to already have a brand before they utilize my marketing, or, you know what I mean? Maybe they need to have product market fit before I run these specific type of ads. Like, they need to be a fit. So I'm confident in what we do, but I'm not confident in you doing it yet. So I'm not coming in with the energy of like, oh, you're going to crush it with us. You're going to do great, because that's going to kill trust, because they also understand that you don't know them yet. So how could you know if they fit? Everyone understands that you have to be a fit. There's no such thing as this works for everybody, you know? So the beginning of the call, the discovery, going through the pain, going through the goals, going through the solutions they tried in the past. It's all curious. It's all curiosity. I just want to learn. I just want to help. I just want to support. I want to figure out how you fit into what we are able to help with. That's the thoughts pertaining to that create all the tonality you need there. Then once, like, the pitch should come at a moment where you've learned that, okay, they do have all the qualifications necessary to be a good puzzle piece, to be a good fit for our offer. Now you can switch that energy from just curiosity to confidence on both levels, because now it's like, okay, I'm confident in what we've got, and I'm confident in you doing this because I've taken the time to learn about you. And that combination builds a ton of trust, because they understand, because they recognize that there's a switch in your energy and in your tonality and how you're behaving and how you're speaking, and they recognize that switch came after you understood what was actually going on. But if you have both levels of confidence the whole time, there's barely an opportunity to build trust, because none of you would trust someone who tried to sell you something immediately without even understanding if it made sense for you to buy it. You know what I mean? So that's where that switch of, like, instead of curiosity, now it's confidence. Now it's, you're being very direct. You're being confident in what it is you're selling. You're confident in them doing it, right? You're kind of like championing them, like, hey, I truly believe you'd crush it with this. You do a really good job, right? If you're saying that if you're saying that in discovery, that's how you just start losing trust. You should never be in discovery being like, oh, I think you'd be a great fit for this within like the first 5 minutes. Should never do that. Right. But now they can see that switch in your language and in your tone. And it's like, oh, this person must have learned enough about me to establish that I'm a good fit. Now they're coming with this confidence. And then that carries on into objection handling. If there is any objections, obviously sometimes they just close. But if there is any objections, concerns, it's, you want to slow it down, right? You never want to be rushed, like you see on TV and stuff. They got like the chipmunk salesman door to door where they're like talking fast, everything's fast moving. Let me show you this. Look at this product. I did door to door sales. That stuff works for door to door when it's low ticket items, not many things at stake. But when it's offers like this, you want to be calm, slow down the process, because when someone is trying to rush the process, it indicates that they have something to hide. People that move slow and they take their time indicate that there's nothing to hide here. I mean, it's okay. I'm fine with scrutiny. I'm fine with cross-referencing because what I sell holds up to scrutiny. Therefore, we don't have to rush this process. So when you're handling objections and concerns, you have a calm confidence where you really slow it down. You talk slower because most objections come up because of a fear or anxiety. That's where it usually comes up, is like, okay, now we actually have to do this. And they're kind of freaking out a little bit because they're buying something usually that is going to provide a massive transformation for their life. And that's always nerve wracking, and which is normal because they're doing something they care about. So that's when you really slow it down and you're calm and you're collected. And a lot of sales is a transfer of belief. So they can see, okay, you're calm, collected, therefore I should be, because you are the expert here. You're the advisor here. And if you don't think this is a moment to be freaking out, then maybe I shouldn't be freaking out. Maybe this freak out is unwarranted. Right. Because at the end of the day, if you're going fast and fast, but, oh, didn't you say da da da, and they're freaking out, then they're just going to want to get out of there because there's too much tension building up. And then you close the deal. But, that's kind of the process of the tonality and the energy that you have throughout the call. But all of these things naturally stem from where your thoughts are throughout the call. Sound good?
Yeah, it does.
Hopefully that was clear. I know I went on for a long time. Any other questions on that or on anything else? Nope, no more questions. What else we got, guys?
I have a question. So, I'm looking to have a little bit more clarity and advice here because I'm pretty excited for this role that I applied to. I have an interview for it tomorrow morning. It's a B2B offer, and my concern is that I've been role playing and practicing B2C offers. So I'm not familiar with like B2B style communication because I know that it's a lot more like logic and number involved rather than personal. And so I'm just not sure as to how I'm supposed to prepare for that. It's a great offer. I really want to land it, but I just don't know what my communication style is supposed to be because it's a B2B offer, not B2C. So I mean, if there is anything to learn, how can I learn it?
So, well, you want to take things one step at a time, first of all. So your first focus should be passing the interview,
Okay.
right? Do you know if they're going to do a role play on the interview?
I do not, but I know that after the interview, he told us about the ramp up, and it's a lot of extensive role playing. So I'm looking forward to that. But the interview part is where I'm concerned about because I want to come off the right way.
Why are you concerned about the interview? What do you think is your biggest struggle there?
I think, honestly, I think I'm overthinking it because I have done my research on the offer and I have done research on the person behind the offer. So I now know how an agency works. I now know how B2B consultants work, which I didn't know prior to that. And I am excited for the interview and I'm confident about it. But the B2B thing is what gets me. I don't know what to expect. I assume he's going to be role playing with me because it's a pretty intense offer. It requires a lot of dedication and commitment, which I'm more than willing to do.
What differences do you think there will be in the sales call?
I know that the foundation is the same, so discovery, pitch, objection. But I'm used to being personal with the prospect and not logical. So the difference, I guess, would be the questions I'm going to be asking. So it'll be a lot more business related and a lot less personal related. So instead of asking, how do you feel about this not working out, I'd be asking something number related, like, where do you feel like you could, I honestly do not know how to communicate the questions.
Well, at the end of the day, no matter what the offer is, it all boils down to your having a conversation about whatever the problem is,
Hmm.
right? So again, your thought process is I want to understand the problem and its implications, right? So, I mean, how do you feel about XYZ for a B2B offer? Uh, Feeling might be, let's say, weight loss. How do you, if you ask them, how do they feel about the XYZ issues with their weight versus, how do you feel about XYZ issues with your struggles when it comes to scaling your ads? Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's not like a totally different world. Personally, the only thing I would say is try to switch up your language so that it's not typical um questions like how does that make you feel is like the most anticipated question ever. So, but you can word it in your own words so that you don't say it in that way, right? Like you can say, hey, what implications has this had? Is this going to have on the revenue over the next 12 months? Like, you know what I mean? You can say a bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just going to boil down to what are the problems that that business is facing and understanding what those problems are. So, what is he actually selling, the agency?
It's an offer where they sell like an AI automated lead flow for other agencies and B2B
Okay.
consultants.
So they sell AI automated lead flows. So the conversation is going to be what the problem is as it relates to the company's leads.
Right. Yeah.
How are they getting leads currently? Why is there a struggle with lead flow? Why do they want more? Why aren't the leads good? Why, like, you're just going to discover what the problem is, because in lead flow, it could be that their leads are too expensive. It could be that the lead quality is not there. It could be that they're not getting enough leads. It could be that they don't have a system to get consistent leads. It could So all you're doing is just discovering what the problem is. Remember the problem formula. I have a video on it in the community that you've probably seen. I would say go watch it again. But remember the formula. It's what the problem is, ask questions to probe until you have an understanding of that what, and then move on to the frequency or duration of that problem. How long has it been a thing? How often does that come up? And then you can say, okay, so you struggling, this is the replacement of the how do you feel? You struggling with this for X amount of time, how has that been affecting the business? Instead of how is you not being able to lose the weight for 6 months make you feel, you're just saying, how does that affect the business? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not this huge difference. And don't think just because it's B2B that emotion is now totally gone from it, because that really just comes down to the prospect, not the industry, right? I've had very emotional, how does that make you feel conversations in B2B, and I've had very logical, logistics based conversations selling B2C. It comes more so down to the person, and maybe even I'd say the size of company, because you're selling an agency service, but sometimes you might, I don't know, it depends on the business. You might be selling to businesses doing seven figures. You might be selling to businesses doing hundreds of thousands of dollars. You might be selling to businesses doing, eight, nine figures, which is a whole different ball game
It ranges
depending on
from
the size.
it ranges from like 5K per month businesses to over 100,000 per month businesses. So we
Okay,
have
so that's almost B2C in reality. If
mm,
someone's making 5, 10, 15K a month, you're talking directly to the owner who is very emotionally attached to their business.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, although the only difference really is typically you're speaking to another salesperson, so you want to avoid some of the cliche, like, how does that make you feel questions, but you can still ask the same question in different wording.
Mhm.
But again, it's not something to overthink. And the reason why I say it one step at a time is because when you land the offer, this is my sales ideology. The business owner is going to give you their sales ideology as well. And all you have to do is follow what they know works on their offer. If the business owner that you're working with is selling well, don't like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like you can simply, not from a standpoint of, oh, I've never done B2B before, I'm scared, what do I do? You can just say, hey, in this scenario, what question would you ask? This is what I would usually ask. And you're going to role play with him. It's not like he's going to say, hey, you've got the offer, throw you on calls tomorrow to the wolves. Like he's going to walk you through the difference in questioning, and you're going to pick all that up. So instead of stressing about what comes next, stress about like what's in front of you, And I'd say don't even stress, but just do your best and show up with confidence, because that's what's going to get you the offer is industry understanding, whatever track record you do have. There's only so much you could do there, but then also just the confidence in which you have. Not Don't be confident necessarily in your current ability, be confident in your adaptability, right? If you're confident in your ability to be coachable, learn fast and adapt, you can overcome anything that's in front of you, right? At the end of the day, once you get the offer, ask him for call recordings, listen to them, and you'll have all your answers rather than us speculating right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's
Uh,
going to depend on his offer.
yeah, he has like an open book of information for all the closers that he's trying to gather to interview for all of us to watch. So there's a lot of information there. So if other closers are doing what I'm doing, which is pretty much just researching and being intentional with the interview so they can land the offer, then there's a lot of competition there. Standing out, I think my strongest point in terms of standing out to land the offer is my conviction in what they're selling. I think that's important, and they certainly believe in what they're selling very, very heavily. And I relate to that. I resonate with them a lot. It's an offer that I really want to land because I envision myself to be a dedicated and committed person to something of value. And I really want to make sure that I'm a valuable asset to the owner and to the business. So it's something that I really want to land, and I have done a lot of research on them. I know a lot, I have done a lot, but I want to know what you think just to clarify things on my end and be sure of it. What do you think I should know and do prior to the interview? Like, what are some
Well,
things you can let me know of?
prior to the interview, I mean, it's a marketing agency. So what they're going to be looking for is, do you understand how to speak about marketing to other businesses? Do you understand that lingo? Do you understand that industry? Do you understand um, things like ROAS? Do you understand things like ROI? Do you understand things like CBO scale test? Do you understand different marketing terms and lingo? Now, he might not quiz you on all that on the interview, but maybe showcasing different understanding on some of these things might help. Do you understand MQL, marketing qualified lead versus a regular qualified lead? Do you understand terminology and these kinds of things? So again, that's just marketing as a whole. Probably not going to test you on those things. So I wouldn't stress too much about it if those terms were like foreign to you.
They were.
Um, Again, so it's like don't stress too much about it because I doubt he's going to test you on it. But if you're saying, hey, how can I stand out? Research about it. Like just type in Google, what are all the terms that I should know if I'm going to be a sales rep for a marketing agency? Like use ChatGPT and just ask. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
gonna say, hey, you should know this, and this, right? Um, Go in there, one, with confidence. Confidence is the number one most important aspect. Confidence, not arrogance. But confidence is important because selling is a transfer of belief, right? If you believe that in the product and the service and you believe that you can sell it, that's going to transfer to the business owner as well. Remember, you're selling yourself to the business owner. You're pitching yourself, right? You're pitching your sales service. So you having a strong belief in what they sell as well, but not only a strong belief in what they sell, but the fact that you actually like you want to showcase that you understand the importance of it is going to be huge. And you want to make sure that you're communicating in a concise, direct way as well. Not rambling on for too long, but also not being too short. Around 2 minutes is a good uh, time frame to answer interview questions. But again, don't be so strict on trying to like time yourself live on the interview. I would say if you go in there, showcase your confidence, showcase your belief in their service and your desire to work hard, you'll do really, really well. And showcase that you understand what it is they're selling and why it makes a massive difference.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I appreciate that. As far as questions go for the interview, he did email me prior to the interview that I got accepted for the interview and that I should come prepared with questions. The thing is
Mhm.
that all of my questions, the one that really matter to me, has been answered because I've done so much research on the offer and on the person. And it's thanks to him that he also has all that information available. So now
That's
I'm
good.
kind of yeah, now I'm kind of ran out of questions to ask on the interview because I know that questions are important to ask on interviews. Now I've just ran out. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to ask at the end of the interview.
Well, you don't want to ask questions that are easily accessible online or on their website or anything like that because it just shows you don't do your due diligence, right?
Exactly.
So it's good that you got all of those questions out of the way. So just ask yourself, what are some things you would want to know about the offer that you can't find online?
That's what I'm trying to dig at. All
Can
right.
anyone help him out? Anyone know what kind of questions you should ask a business that you can't just find on their website?
Revenue, how much they do in revenue monthly.
You can
100.
ask about their long-term vision, like what do they want to be in 3 years? Where do they want to be in 5 years? And just get a better idea of where they're going.
He wants to build $100 million agency, and this year he wants to make $500,000 a month in revenue.
So, what's the purpose of asking questions on the interview?
To show curiosity and genuineness in the offer, right?
Curiosity in what?
Conviction.
A curiosity of what? Of what? What are you curious about? Or what should you be curious about, I guess?
Hmm.
You should be curious about if you're going to be a good fit for them, and
Yeah. Um,
And what are they looking for?
they're looking for someone committed, eager to grow, someone who has full-time availability and dedication to the role, and this is preferable on their end. They're also looking for someone who knows the agency market and has experience in sales, which I have neither, but now I'm a little familiar with how the agency market works.
So, when it comes to interviews, you want to ask questions that showcase that you guys are on the same page and that there's an alignment,
Mm.
right? So, if you know what they want, how can your questions showcase an alignment in what they want and what you want?
Maybe ask about their goals. Like I want to ask, how do you plan on reaching 100 million in revenue with your business? Is that a good one or?
Could ask, what else?
Would it
I'm
be a
not
good question to ask what the biggest constraint in their sales?
It's a good question in my opinion, and the answer to that is that I watched a video recently on the person behind the business saying that their biggest constraint at the moment is hiring and interviewing or hiring and training sales representatives, which was very insightful to me. But again, he's aware that sales reps are watching the video, so he knows the information he's spreading, and so that's his biggest problem in the business right now. And so he's putting all his efforts into hiring 4 closers a month, and he's looking to put all his time and effort into fixing this problem because it's what helps him move the business forward is hiring and training reps, and that's where he's pouring all his efforts in right now.
So, one question I asked that landed me a really good role before was, what are some of the main things I should focus on in the first 30 days to make sure I ramp up to KPI as quickly as possible? So, what that question does is it showcases that my desire is to get to KPI fast. And how that's aligned is because it's a business owner or sales manager's dream is to hire someone that ramps up into KPI as quickly as possible, because the longer they take to get there, the more money they cost and the more time and money gets wasted. So there's an alignment in my goals and their goals with that question alone. So they're like, oh yeah, that's actually one of the questions I used to land um, a role with Closers IO with Cole Gordon when I worked over there for a while. Um, so that's one great question to ask. What other questions do you think could show alignment like that?
That is a good question. I'll
Sorry,
think
can
of.
you repeat that question again?
So I asked, what are some of the main things I should focus on in the first 30 days so that I could ramp up into KPI as quickly as possible?
Cheers.
Another question that I've asked before was, when it comes to the sales team, what are the biggest struggles they're having right now with consistently hitting projections? Um, and how would you like me to help with that?
I think I would know the answer to that. It's the overflowing amount of appointments being booked that only one closer on their team is able to handle, and that's why he's wanting to hire a lot more closers because
There's just so many appointments that they can't sell enough.
they're
I doubt
printing
that.
appointments. Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, yeah, but that's not a real, like, it's a bottleneck, but again, if there's that many quality appointments, um, there's probably other things in the way as well, because they could also just filter those appointments only for laydowns and have like a 70-80% close rate, you know? So,
Mm,
but again, just because that is a issue doesn't mean it's the only one. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Even like you said, his biggest issue is hiring and training reps. You can say, hey, what are the plans over the next year or two in the business? Um, and are you looking for someone that could eventually take training reps off your plate?
That is a good.
What is your plans for the growth of this specific role? Are you looking for sales management in the future, or are you or are you simply just looking for reps? You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of questions you can come up with that showcase commitment, long term vision, aligned focus on the short term things that they're looking for, right? Even what are you planning to do with the business in the next 5 years, and how can I be a part of it? You know,
Mhm.
um, there's lots of questions you can ask that can't just be found online for sure.
Okay. Alrighty.
Now, and I know a bunch of people put in the chat things like, what's the top setter closer making? Um, kind of like, those are more of like due diligence questions. And those questions I like to ask after I've secured the offer. So those are like your, let me just confirm and verify, because you don't want to necessarily be asking those questions right off the bat. Get the offer, then, hey, so what's the monthly revenue? What's this? What's that? That way you can just kind of confirm that it is an offer that, and the numbers align with what the business owner is saying. Because, sometimes business owner, oh, we're overflowing with meetings, and they're getting like 4 a day. Like, you know what I mean? So you want to confirm those things afterwards, just so that you can ask questions that secure you the offer. Once they want you and they're like, yeah, I really want to work with you, they're more open to answering all of those questions. Because now, again, like, Samantha was saying, you're coming from the standpoint of being a business partner. And so, like, workplace environment, all of those types of questions, you can ask workplace environment before you land the offer too. But some of the cross reference questions, I'll say, where you're like, what's the daily lead flow? What's the revenue generated monthly? What's the top closer versus the worst closer doing? Like, all those like cross reference kind of questions, I would save until they're like, hey, we want to hire you. Do you have any other questions for us? And it's like, okay, well, let me just clarify a few things. Cool. This makes sense for the both of us. Let's get it going. Make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. Top closer is making 15,000. All right. Makes sense.
Cool. Any other questions? I know you had an intro video you wanted to take a look at, Canyon.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we can go over that real quick if it's the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, let's jump into that. Let me just share screen real quick. All right.
Closer role. Hi, my name is Canyon Milligan. I believe it'd be a good fit for the closer role. As a personal trainer, I've been able to consistently generate the most new clients per month amongst the trainers in my gym, as well as the most number of cold call outreaches in a month through my gym. I've also generated $10,000 of revenue in a single day in furniture sales while I was in furniture sales. My philosophy of selling goes more along the spin model of selling, which goes into the root problems and asks
Biggest thing is eye contact. Eye contact on this one. It just looks like you're looking down, reading stuff. I just want to see eye contact with the camera. It makes it seem more like you're talking to me and pitching yourself. Right now, can you see what I'm saying, Canyon? Do you see it? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, it's kind of scattering all over the place.
Yeah, you're just like, you can see the eyes move and then bounce to the top, then move, then bounce to the top. It just looks like, okay, this guy's reading something. I just want to see in these intro videos, you're looking directly at the camera, you're talking directly to me. There's that confidence of it's kind of like it's something I do even on sales calls when I'm pitching. I'm making sure, even if throughout the call my eyes wander, I'm making sure that like when I'm pitching, I'm looking directly at the camera because it simulates eye contact and eye contact simulates trust. Um, so in those intro videos, it might take you a couple reps so that you like memorize it, but it's so worth it to just like rep it out until you memorize what you're saying. And because when you're no longer thinking of what you're saying, you can do it naturally and in your own voice and your own tonality as well. And you can just have direct eye contact with the camera, and it makes a world of a difference. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah, that's
We'll
perfect.
keep listening to it.
Strategic questions in order to find that to help discover what the client truly needs. And what I really want in a team, I want to be able to be around hungry, driven, and competitive individuals that are looking to grow as much as they can with no limits. I would fit really well in that environment based off what I know about myself, personality wise there. And I want to be able to stay in the fitness industry. As a trainer, I really loved getting people from point A to point B and then their next goals and C and D and E and so on. And I want to be able to stay in that path and help out more people in that way. But I want to do it in an environment that I believe is more rewarding in a closing role rather than a personal training role. So if you believe that we might be able to be a good fit, we can go and discuss further. And I look forward to hearing from you soon to discuss more of the opportunity.
And then the last two more things. One, I want to see the camera angle more straight on rather than coming from below. Kind of simulate how you would look on a Zoom call. Again, that's a little bit of a nitpick, but if we're making it perfect, I would want it to be more level with your face rather than like you're going over it. And then just a strong close. If for all of you, if you don't have sales experience, your strongest close is going to be a call to action to do an interview and showcase your skills, and or pointing them to your portfolio, which all of you should be building, especially if you don't have sales experience, your portfolio, which is examples of role plays, mock calls, objection handling, clips, whatever it is you have in it. So there's nothing wrong with anything you said, but finishing it off strong, confident with something like, yeah, and if you're looking to see more of my skills, I have a portfolio of call recordings that you can go ahead and take a look at. That'll be right below this video. Also, we can hop on an interview, see if we're a good fit for each other, and I'd love to showcase you my skills. Thanks for watching. You know what I mean? Just like a strong finish, a strong call to action, either pointing them to your portfolio or telling them, let's jump on an interview and I'll show you what I've got. I'm happy to do a mock call, whatever it is, especially because you don't have any proof of your sales ability outside of personal training, which you had to close your personal training clients. But especially for those of you that don't have any sales experience at all, that's going to be massive. Make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Ty.
No problem. What else we got? 10 more minutes. Anything else we want to cover?
Just a newbie question I have, like, should we start as a setter or like as a closer?
It just depends on what you want and what you're going for, which role you think you'd enjoy more lifestyle wise. I mean, typically without sales experience, it is easier to land a setting role, but you don't have to like be a setter first before you're a closer. You don't have to go in any specific order. They're just different roles. And I've seen I've seen setters making 20, 30K a month. I've seen closers making 5, 6, like, you know what I mean? So even the income potential, yes, it's higher for a closer overall in the grand scheme of things, but you can still make great money. I would go with the one where you can see yourself sustainably doing a great job in. And the reason why is because I've heard time and time again, business owners are really, really tired, especially if people come in through programs. They're really tired of people being like, hey, I'm applying to be a setter, but I want to be a closer in the next like 2 months. It's like, if you were a business owner, you wouldn't want to hire anyone that wanted to quit their job within 2 to 3 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would go for what you want to go for. I've seen tons of people just walk straight into closing. I've seen tons of people walk straight into setting, and none of them is necessarily required. It's different roles, different skill sets.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I got my question answered.
No problem. What else, guys?
Talking about like going into a role and
Mhm.
maybe the first like how can you kind of tell the first signs of maybe the offer isn't the right fit, or like, and leaving, how long really should you like stay in a role until you think maybe you should take a step back and that it's not working.
Yeah, there's so many variables with that. Firstly, it's why, like, not a right fit in what way? Not a right fit as in you don't know if you can perform on that role, not a right fit as in maybe the role is not what the person that enrolled you made it seem, not a right fit in terms of maybe you're performing and everything's going well, their lead flow and everything's there, but maybe the delivery team isn't that good. Therefore, you have angry customers that want refunds. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many,
I think maybe focusing
know,
on like what maybe like the role not being exactly what it was kind of explained, and then like coming through, the delivery from like maybe the setters, bringing in like leads that actually don't really fit, and they haven't been like almost like vetted properly first.
Yeah, I would never stop doing interviews and sourcing opportunities until I've solidified a role. And even when I have, you still want to keep expanding your network. Maybe you're showing up to, maybe that looks like doing one interview a month instead of a bunch every week. Or maybe that looks like just connecting with business owners and having conversations and not necessarily doing an interview yet, but building a list of great offers on your radar. So you're never really going to stop sourcing opportunities so that you have, like, you should know at any given time, hey, if this doesn't work out, there's 2, 3 other offers on my list that I could go to right now. And I've at least have some kind of connection with the company. I can just reach out to someone there. I know who to reach out to. But as for how long you stay on an offer like that, again, super contextual. If I was speaking about, so for example, if I was like younger, like let's say I jumped on an offer and they said there would be 5, 6 calls a day, and realistically there's like 2. And instead I thought I was going to be making 6, 7K a month, but maybe I'm making like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If I'm like younger, living with my parents, not really paying like rent or mortgage or anything, maybe I'd stick it out just to continue to build my track record and look for something else and then transition when I found something really like good. But if it was like, hey, I've got a wife and kids, I got to feed my family, then that is going to be different. Maybe I'd jump ship a lot quicker. Like it's kind of like a case by case scenario, and only you would know what makes sense for you. Just look at the ROI on your time. And for example, if someone's like an experienced rep with a really good track record, maybe they would jump ship a lot quicker than someone's like, you know what, this role's not great, but at the same time, landing your first role with no experience is really difficult. So maybe I'll stick around just to pad my close rate or just pad my track record a little bit more while I search for other offers. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really, really contextual. And I try to not set any ground rules there, but I'll have people like bring me your scenario and let's actually ask questions and diagnose it and then see what makes the most sense specifically now for you, you know?
I think that's the thing, because I've got an interview for an offer, not exactly what I wanted, but it's a setting role, 5% commission on life of a 5K offer, first role, so completely new to it. Haven't done anything before, and I know like it's probably a good thing because I'm working full time still at the minute to take the offer even though it's not exactly what I want, to build that track record, so then when I'm ready to leave my job, I've got that experience there that I can then take forward.
Are you able to do that one on the side, the one that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
so yeah, if you're able to do it part-time, like that's what most people like. That's like a dream for most people. Even if the role doesn't result in you crushing it, it at least gets you hours on the phone where you're like, okay, now I know, first of all, I know if I can do this the way I thought it would. And two, I know if I even like this or not. You know what I mean? You might do some setting calls and be like, I actually don't like this job. In theory, it sounded like I'd like it. Realistically, I don't like it. I don't like being a salesperson. You know what? I'm out. You know what I mean? So yeah, even if it's not like, don't be too picky and don't try to like land your dream role the first role. You know what I mean? Land that first role, especially if you find one that you're able to do without quitting your day job. That's solid. That's solid. So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about it.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. What other questions you got?
I have a question about an objection. Maybe you could give advice. So today I got hit with, I just want to look over my finances. And just for some context, like I tied them down. I was like, made sure that they really wanted to do it. I offered a logistical solution. It was a 6K offer. It's a biz op. And so I offered like a financing plan, and at $150, they still needed to look over their finances. So I hit them with
that's where you went wrong.
With the logistics first.
Where you went wrong was offering them a plan without looking over their finances first. So the way I like to do it is, if I'm giving someone a financial plan, because like you don't want to give like more than one financial plan, because then it just gets so muddy and confusing. You want to give them one plan if you're doing like some kind of payment plan, break it down if they can't afford the full price.
Yeah.
And if like once you've established they can't PIF, you typically want to get all of their finances broken down before you suggest anything at all. Because the worst thing to do is to give a plan and then they're like, oh, I can't do that either. And now you're like, okay, well.
That is true. But the question that I asked before that was like, so this is doable for you, right? Like it wouldn't take food and shelter away from you. And prior to that, like the conversation, he's like, I make good money. So I knew what he was making monthly. And so I guess based off of my training, and so I would definitely love a different perspective, is that you offer a logistical solution first before you actually get into any fear-based reframes. So like when I did say, okay, so given how much you make and, would breaking it up make it doable for you? Since they said that it wasn't food or shelter or whatever the case is. And so even then they hit me with, I'm still going to need to think about it.
How did you get the breakup number?
So how did I get like the number that I offered them?
So walk me through how it happened. So you said, hey, would breaking it up be helpful? And they said, yeah, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
And so we only have one financing option. So it's the only one that I offered. I was like, okay, well, that's perfect. We do have Afterpay. You can take that, we can break it up into 12 or 24 months. Would that be doable for you? Or would that allow you to get started today? They're like, well, I have to pay for my brother's rent and and all of these things, right? And so then I was like stuck. I'm like, I don't know where to go from here.
So I agree with the thought process of getting rid of the logistical first, but what it seems is that you didn't actually get rid of it, right?
Okay.
So the way I like to do it is you want to handle first belief in the service, which everyone does, and XYZ aside, like everyone knows that, and then you handle the logistical, and then you handle the emotional. But what it sounds like is you thought you handled the logistical, but you didn't actually. When I say handle, I mean get it out of the way so they literally cannot bring it up again. So what I do every single time when they're like, I can break it up, is I'll ask them straight up, hey, so do you mind having an open, honest conversation about the finances so we can see how we can make this work? And they're like, okay, cool. And then I'll straight up ask them, I'll get them to go through the finances with me and we come up with a plan together. So I'll say, how much cash do you have in your bank account right now? Cash on hand.
Yeah.
How much is in the savings? How much is in the checkings? How much credit cards do you have? What's on each of them? What's your credit score? Got any investments, Bitcoin, any of that? I like to lighten up the mood and be like, any rich uncles that believe in you, and they usually laugh at that point and they're like, "Hi, not really." And then once I know the money they have now, depending on the offer, I might already know this, but if I don't, then I'll say, "What are you making exactly on a monthly basis?" This much. Okay. What is your expenses on a monthly basis? Well, I don't know. Especially then they'll be like, "Okay, well, what do you spend on rent, food, whatever?" Okay, does that include fund money? No. And then what I do is I always highball it. So if they say, "Oh, I spend like 600 a month just going eating out and having fun," I'll be like, "Oh, let's call it 800." Like I like to
Yeah.
highball it because what that does is it gives them comfortability. Because I'm going to
Okay.
give them a plan that 100% works. And they
Yeah.
cannot tell me it doesn't work because we just went through all of your finances. So the plan I'm giving you is 100% works. And the only reason you're saying no right now is because of your emotions. And we can
Okay.
handle that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I'm going to
for
go
sure.
through it all, and then and then at that point he would have said, "Well, I also pay my brother's rent and da 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 da."
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, "Okay, based on all this, you have an extra 500 a month that's not going anywhere,
Mhm.
right? That's not allocated anywhere." Yes. And then you give him a plan of 100 and something a month. Now he can't be like, "Well, let me look at my finances." Like, "Well, we looked at it. This is what it
Yeah,
is." You know what I mean? The
100%.
only objection there is like, "I'm afraid, I'm nervous," and you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then you handle that, but at least he
yeah,
can't keep going back to, "Let me check, let me check, let me check," you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Absolutely, I definitely agree. So I when I was in the conversation, I asked like I was like, "Well, we have 10 minutes on the call. We can definitely do that. Like I'm your first layer of accountability. Like let me help you with that." And honestly, it's a biz up for a fitness offer and like the clientele are very it's like bro culture. So I felt like when I asked that and his reply was like, "Oh no, I can handle my own finances myself. I just need to look it over. How would you handle that?"
Well, did you do it after you gave him the plan?
No. So
This
like
was before?
from my scripting structure, like when I even said like offered logistical solutions, I was like, "Okay,
Mhm,
what can you put toward this on a monthly basis, bills aside, like that's doable for you for sure?"
mhm.
And he said, "I don't know." So I said, "Okay, well we can do it together on the call." And so I know that it might sound a little bit messy. I don't remember the
Mhm,
exact structure of the call, but
mhm.
every objection that he gave me, I didn't necessarily know how to like, I was when I did offer that and he's just like, "I can look at it myself." Like, what do you even say at that point? Like, no,
So
like let
yeah,
me
so
like,
the way you wanna present it, well, so first thing, in that case, when you've already gone that far, you would do it from the standpoint of, like, if he doesn't bring it to you on the call, he can't, like, I can't come up with a custom deal for you, right?
Yeah.
But the way I would present going through the finances is always, um, "Hey, are you sure you wanna do this? Is just the finances getting in the way? If the finances weren't in the
Mhm.
way, you would do this. Cool, awesome. In that case, are you open to having an open, honest conversation about the finances so that we can find out what might be able to either work now or sometime in the future?" And
Mhm.
that sometime in the future, a lot of times, if I can tell they're more of a skeptical person, saying sometime in the future will disarm them a bit because when you say, "Let's look at the finances now," what
Mhm.
they're hearing is, "Oh, you're trying to find a way to take my money now," right? But if I'm like, instead of saying like, "Let's look at the finances now," I'm just going to say, "Hey, let's come up with a plan," right?
Okay.
That'll either work now or sometime in the future, whatever.
Mhm.
And then they're like, "Okay." And then I say, "So cash on hand, what do you have right now?" And a lot of times they'll be like, a few $1,000 or a few $100. I'll be like, "No, but like exactly what do you have? Don't worry. We're not gonna take it all. Just like what do you actually have? Just so we can come up
Yeah.
with something like very clear for you." Then they
Mhm.
say, "Okay, I've got X amount of dollars." And I've even had people being like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I'm like, "Okay, yeah, just do you have a banking app? Yeah, okay, pull it up and check." And then they
Yeah.
pull up their phone and then they sign in their bank and they actually check, right? But it also comes down to your demeanor and the trust you've built throughout the call. The
Yeah.
bigger deal you make something, the bigger deal they're gonna make it. Like if you again, we're not seeing the call right now, but if you make it a big deal, then they'll make it a big deal as well. But if you're kind of nonchalant, like, "Oh yeah, just check the bank. It's on the app, right?" They'll just pull it up and they'll just go and they'll go through it.
Okay.
Um, but again, I would try before ever giving any like financial plan, try to work out all the numbers first. That's
Okay.
usually helped with me a lot.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Any final questions before we hop off, guys? Everyone's camera's off. Everyone's so shy today. Is someone trying to? Is that Caleb trying to talk? Who's it? It's like very muffled. I can't tell who's trying to say something. You sound like Darth Vader. I can't hear you. Can you guys hear him? Is that just me? You guys, no one can make it out? Okay, so that's not just
I
me.
can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah. You want to type it? You want to type it, Caleb? Your question? I'm not getting any of it. It is like the deepest, darkest voice I've ever heard. Yeah, just type it out. Type it out. Or unplug, plug in your mic. I'm not sure. While he's typing that out, any other questions, guys? Customers hanging up midday into making payments. Closing calls. Those are the worst. I've had that happen. They suck. It happens to everyone, honestly. And sometimes like it's usually it's hard to say why because it's not like you ever get them back to answer why they did that. You know what I mean? So it's really hard for me to say this is why that's happening. Some people probably just like some people just fake it and they're afraid of saying no. So it might be that they feel pressured. It might be that they don't feel safe with you in that conversation and they're taking off, and they're trying to just say yes to go along and then hang up because they don't want the whole objection handling stuff. Maybe been an issue with building trust. It's hard to say why without listening to a call where that happened. Right? If you brought to one of these calls like a live call, I could listen to it. I could say, okay, maybe this is what happened. But yeah, it's hard to speculate. And that's why it's, a lot of times you want to tie it down multiple times. Like, is this what you want? Is this how you want it? Let's see. Problem is they're excited about doing it and they literally walk through the entire financing process and hang out before hitting pay. Without hearing the call, it's hard to say why. Again, it could be fake excitement. It could be like you're saying this is happening consistently, multiple times a day, or is there something on the payment page that's super scary? Like, I don't know, is there like I don't know, big red letters, you're locked in for life or something on the page? I don't know. Cause I mean, so again, I'm just going off of what you typed here. If I'm hearing correctly, if I'm reading correctly, that you have multiple people per day going through all of the financing process. So I guess they're getting financed and just before the payment button, all hanging up. My first thought is like, what's on that final page? Because although I've had it happen, it's never been like every day or a few times a week consistently. It's been like once in a blue moon, someone did that. But if it's like a consistent thing, that means there's a consistent thing that you guys are doing from your end, whether it's what you're saying at the end or what the pay. Like when you say financing, does everyone get financed and there's got like some contract or something, or what's at the end of the call that's making it? Yeah, I'm not sure. Still nothing, man. It's still hard to understand. I'm not sure. Are you able to, I mean, maybe next Wednesday or Monday, are you able to bring a call next Monday that we can listen to and then we can see what we can see there? Yeah, no problem. I mean, bring a call. Bring a call if you can, next week we can listen to it, or maybe we can talk more next week and then go from there, or even just like a snippet. If they're going through some kind of financing thing, check the page yourself and see if there's anything that maybe you need to preempt on the page that might be scaring people off. maybe analyze like some consistent, like look back on those calls and see if there's any consistent pattern as to why these people jumped off. Were they asking certain questions at certain times in the call, a little bit more nervous at certain times in the call? See if it's like a fake excitement. But again, if it's happening consistently, then there's something there. There's got to be something there. But we'll leave it there for this call, guys. Hopefully this was helpful for all of you. I'll be posting the recording in the community. Do me a favor and comment on it so we can bump it up in the community, get more people on these calls. If you did get some good value from it, I will see you guys either Wednesday if you're in the closer calls. If not, I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
A lot of value.
Later.